Uh, okay. We have a lot to talk about, and I'll try my absolute best to make this video not too long, but holy shit. First of all, congrats to Jed Whedon to stepping behind the camera. Aside from being a producer and maybe an occasional writer, he finally directed his first episode and he chose this one. And you can definitely feel a slight shift in tone where he wanted to take things in a much more drastic measure, because I might be completely wrong about this, but I believe our finale for the L.M.D story arc, at least it's kind of sort of the finale for the L.M.D story arc, even though I feel like the third pod of episodes, as they're calling it, is still going to contain some L.M.D story elements, particularly Ada, who's still fucking alive, and I can't believe that she is. But it is the episode to cement the finale for the L.M.D story arc overall. It's called Self-Control. Jed Whedon directed it, and you definitely feel some heightened tension that he brought to this kind of Terminator slash The Thing slash Attack on Precinct 13 type of hybrid, where you see an awful lot more blood and violence in this episode. Not since we were tackling the adventures of Ghost Rider and he was burning people and slashing people's throats and all that stuff did we get this dark, to the point where I might be wrong, but I think this is the first TV-14 rated episode from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, at least in a long time. I think they've done it at least once or twice before, but for the most recent episodes, it's all been PG, and this is the first 14 in a real long time, and it definitely shows because we just see an awful lot more blood and an awful lot more direct body contact violence that we're not really used to seeing in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We see an awful lot of combat that we've seen before, but they take things to a whole nother level, and for good reason, because the majority of the episode is kind of like who's who, where everyone's trying to decipher who's an LMD. I mean, we know who our LMDs are. And this might be my only little qualm with the episode, is I don't like how easily Coulson, Mac, and Mace switch to their alternate personalities, where they're like, yes, join us, one of us, type of, I mean, it's a little exaggerated, but I preferred the way May realized, and I know that Coulson even brings that up, where he says that, hey, May had to figure out for herself, and they have different programming. They know from the get-go that they're LMDs, and they prefer this. They each had a scene to kind of elaborate why they suddenly chose this form of lifestyle and why they prefer to live in the network on the framework, while at the same time living amongst the regular world with this LMD body. But I wish they could have elaborated on that just a little bit more, because that's what turned me around with the LMD storyline, is May's discovery and her somewhat tragic discovery of such a thing, and that's what captivated me, and that's what turned my opinion around. It was a little sad to see that kind of get downplayed with Coulson, and especially Mac. Mac got no scene. The other character that I'll get to, it had his little moment, and Coulson had his exchange with May explaining how he doesn't want her to live with regret and all that stuff. But I think that this episode could have used the 90-minute stretch that other shows have a tendency to do, but then they never pay that running time off with their episodes. Walking Dead. This, I think, could have justified a 90-minute mid-season-ish finale, where they could have spent a little bit more time with these LMD decoys, and why all of a sudden they're trying to make all the other people join them and download their brains and kind of take over S.H.I.E.L.D. I think that would have been warranted. But overall, this was a very tense portion of the show, where I was very surprised by how cleverly it was written, and how I had the wool pull over my eyes that Fitz was the fourth LMD. This entire time it was made out to be Daisy. Turns out Daisy herself was not touched at all. She was still our beloved Daisy, and she and Simmons are the ones going throughout the compound trying to dispatch the LMDs, and Fitz was the one that was actually taken. And that was a really nice twist that I mean, just when I thought that I was possibly getting tired of S.H.I.E.L.D's twists, they pull me back in. And if there was any episode to really showcase the best of your visual effects work, it was this one, because there were some great moments that led up to our very enticing ending. But before I get to that, I'll say that there were some very notable moments that really caught my attention and really made me react. For one was the sudden Fitz switch, where he slices his wrist, and again, really taking advantage of that 14 rating, got so much blood. There's so many wrist cutting in this episode. Like, oh my god, it's gonna drive people to suicide. I hope not. But there was an awful lot of blood there, and then him pulling out the knife, I literally went, oh my god, because the way he just so smoothly pulled out the knife and then stabbed Simmons, I was like, oh my god. And Fitz stabbing Simmons, that alone is able to make me go, oh my god, this is seriously fucking happening right now. And then from there, we move on to this Terminator-esque fight between the L.M.D. Mace and Daisy. That was really cool. But the one visual that stuck in my brain that was actually rather cool, even though you're kind of borrowing from another movie, is that room filled with a bunch of daisies. Who else thought of iRobot? Where Mac walked in, I'm like, you better not pull some Will Smith lines now. So that's it, huh? Or a bunch of LMDs. And before I get to that ending, I want to talk about that little scene where LMD May blows herself as well as LMD Coulson up. I like that scene because it made sense for May to let Daisy and Simmons go because she was the only one that didn't have that advanced programming in her to make that call. And thankfully, because her objective of getting the Darkhold was kind of out of the way, she was able to make that call and bring LMD Coulson along with her down and hopefully give some time for Daisy and Simmons to end company, who are made up by these agents that we've seen earlier in this 4th season. And I love that Jed Whedon was able to cleverly use them again. I was like, okay, they're not just some throwaways. You brought back that girl, you brought back the dude. That was really cool. And they escape in the Zephyr. This scene, even though it made sense, and I thought that it was a really good way to kind of rope things around and kind of tie them up a little bit, especially with those agents in the Zephyr, it was another example as to why this episode should have been a little over an hour, like an hour and a half, because I would have loved to have seen a solid exchange between Daisy Simmons and that LMD May, and not just cut away. Because not only is Ming-Na Wen such a terrific actress, but I really wanted them to take advantage of that and really squeeze some more emotion out of this, and not only out of this actor, but also some more dimension out of this character, and that would have been awesome. But let's not forget, what is really intriguing is that who was not involved in that explosion? LMD Fitz. He's still roaming around somewhere. He had some orders by Coulson to do God knows what. I can't remember what he said, but he's still out there. So danger's still lurking. Okay. Huh. Bringing us my Pacinos tonight. Huh. Let's talk about that ending. Okay. So the only option left to get our people back is for Gemma and Daisy to go into the framework themselves, plug themselves even. It's funny how the girl even said, you plug into these avatars? Yeah, it's fucking Avatar. It's pretty much that. Only in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. universe. They plug in, we jump into the framework, and we see pretty much all the different outcomes for all of our very beloved characters in the span of a little montage to kind of close out our episode. And it's a very heartbreaking one without a single line of dialogue except maybe a text. We get so many callbacks and so many, like, oh my god, riveting things that just made me go, are you fucking kidding me? As soon as Daisy wakes up in that bathtub and I noticed that she had really long hair, I'm like, we're going back to season 1. We're going back to season 1. We gotta go back. And then she walks out. And you get that text, wake up your boyfriend, and I'm like, it's Ward. It's fucking Ward. It's Ward. It's gotta be Ward. And it is. We don't actually see the actor. They probably didn't have enough time to kind of get him over from that Christian movie that he did. But they got a picture, so it's implied that we will be seeing Brett Dalton reprising his role as Grant Ward in the next batch of episodes. Probably not as a villain this time, but definitely something to bring some complexity to Daisy into this whole third story arc that we're dealing with in season 4. But no, it does not stop there. We move on forward. Coulson is now an Inhuman hater, but also a teacher at a school, so I don't know how much damage he can really do in that role. Mac is now a civilian, and it looks like his daughter is safe and sound, so that's okay for him, but you know that dreamland that he's living in is going to come crashing down eventually because that character is rooted in tragedy. And then we move on forward to some of the more riveting ones. Fitz is some kind of billionaire, which not that much of a stretch, but the real question is, who's the woman that he grabs the hand of? And I thought, okay, maybe just give it a couple of seconds. It's going to be Simmons. She's going to walk out of that lemon. Oh my god, a grave stone. Simmons is dead in this framework, which to me is a little weird. It almost even doesn't make that much sense. How much can Simmons help being in a gravestone? Is she gonna pull out of the framework immediately? Is she stuck in there? Is she 6 feet under? I don't know. Is she gonna be a zombie? I don't know. That's one lingering question that's going to be burning at the back of my mind. At least the second most burning question. On top of the most burning one. What the fuck is May doing in a rebuilt S.H.I.E.L.D that has now been taken over successfully by Hydra, almost as if Winter Soldier never happened. Because if you guys recognize the buildings, those are the same buildings that came tumbling down at the end of Winter Soldier, but now we got a Hydra symbol up there.
What's this nonsense?
Meanwhile, in the real world, Ada's still alive, only this time she kind of resurrected-ish the Superior, only this time he truly is superior, with the mechanical body Terminator style, very Terminator-esque themes running all throughout this episode. So many questions, so many things to ponder, and we have so much time to ponder them with. Why? Because S.H.I.E.L.D is not returning until April 4th. Doing this, they keep doing this. Where's my water? I gotta stop. Video's running long. I gotta wrap this up. Okay, so really great episode. Couple of issues here and there that I feel are much more personal to me than other people, mainly around the sudden switch of our main team being replaced by L.M.Ds. I wish that all these things could have easily been fixed with an extra added minutes to this episode, because if there was any, honest to God, this is my very honest to God opinion, out of all the TV shows out there that do these mid-season premieres or mid-season finales, whatever, that extend to 90 minutes and it's just very bloated and do not have to be Walking Dead. Sorry. This warranted that. This, I feel, deserved to be 90 minutes because those issues could have been easily fixed and we probably would have had a near perfect episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But as it stands, it's definitely a captivating one that wrapped up the L.M.D storyline for the most part very, very nicely and left me with an awful lot of questions that just has me burning for some more Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I'm going to be giving Self-Control a very low 9 out of 10. Probably my first 9 in the L.M.D storyline arc. But hey, you gotta go out with a bang. So guys, I throw it over to you. What do you think is gonna happen in the third batch of episodes? Because we have so much to chew on with those last images in that montage. With so many lingering questions. But most importantly, do you think we're still gonna come across Radcliffe in the framework? Even though his body's more than likely dead after all this wrist slitting that we had in this episode because of fucking Ada, we will more than likely still be seeing him at least one more time within the framework, and I think it's with his help we are finally going to see our team overthrow Ada and hopefully bring this whole thing to a close. And who knows, maybe Ghost Rider will make his triumphant return. Those are my speculations. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like and share this video, and of course follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at DarkSpiderDavid. Thank you guys so much for watching not only this review but also so many others, and please stay tuned for so many great things to come in March. We have literally a big movie coming out almost every single week. Logan, King Kong, Skull Island, Beauty and the Beast, Power Rangers, Ghost in the Shell, even though I'm not too hyped for that, but still, I'm willing to give it a go. And then plenty of video games to spend all my time with that. You know what? April 4th, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., take your time. I don't need you. I'm better off on my own. Come back to me, please.